Hello and welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where today we'll bring you another top 10, this time on some dramatic career revivals. Let's get started. 10. Danny Ings. Though he made his name at Burnley, Danny Ings received his football education at Southampton and Bournemouth, where he was a promising, if often injured, centre-forward. Once under the tutelage of Sean Dyche, he blossomed and by his early 20s was a regular starter for the Clarets, scoring 21 to get them promoted from the Championship in 2014. A year later they'd returned to the second tier, but Ings had grabbed 15 Premier League goal involvements, 54% of the club's total that season, and earned himself a move to Liverpool for a compensation fee of £6.5 million. However, injuries set in once he arrived at Anfield, and while Ings had missed just 9 games in 2 seasons before the move, he played only 14 in the 3 years after, scoring 3 league goals for the Reds in that time. So when Southampton paid £18 million for him in 2018, it was seen as a huge risk. Not because of Ings' talent, but because it seemed unlikely that the forward would ever regain consistent fitness. But after a year and a half on the south coast, the England international has repaid the gamble, grabbing 10 goal involvements in his first season before racking up 15 in the first half of 1920, a contribution every 115 minutes, a better rate than compatriots Kane or Sterling. With only Vardy outscoring him at the time of writing, the 27-year-old has put himself in contention for a place at Euro 2020. 5 years after he earned his one and only cap for the Three Lions, it would be a remarkable and deserved end to the campaign. 9. Renato Sanches. 4 years after he burst onto the scene, you'd be forgiven for thinking Renato Sanches was older than 22. But the Portuguese has more trophies and seasons as a pro, with 7 pieces of silverware, including 3 league titles and a medal from Euro 2016. And he's now playing for Lille, who made him their most expensive signing ever in 2019 when they handed Bayern Munich €25 million for the midfielder's services. That brings Sanches to 4 clubs in 4 years, but he may have found a home in northern France, playing as a hybrid midfielder winger role on the right of a 4-2-3-1. There he is not so much expected to replace Nicolas Pepe's attacking power, with just 1 goal in Ligue 1 to date, as pushed the team forward, with his 3.3 dribbles per 90 putting him among the top 5 under-23 ball movers in Europe. He also supports the midfielders Benjamin Andre and Boubakary Soumaré ably, winning possession roughly 3 times a match. Not incredible, but more than Jonathan Okone and Jonathan Bamba put together in other attacking positions. Only the 2 centre-backs and 2 centre-mids get on the ball more than the youngster, and with Europe's super clubs circling for Soumaré, Sanches could find himself shifted into the middle of the park next season. If he hadn't already had his big break, chances are it would have come this summer. Just a quick reminder before we move on to our next section to subscribe to Euro Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a top 10. 8. Fred. Man United's 5th most expensive signing ever when he arrived from Shakhtar Donetsk in 2018, Fred was meant to be the missing piece of the Red Devils midfield. Snapped up from under the noses of rival City, the Brazilian had 3 titles and a handful of caps to his name, and it was thought his defensive awareness would give Paul Pogba the freedom to cause havoc. Of course, it didn't work out that way. United's form saw Jose Mourinho sacked by Christmas, and Fred would lose his place to academy graduate Scott McTominay, ending the season with only 31% of available minutes played in the Prem. But in 2019-20, with injuries ruling out McTominay and Pogba, the 26-year-old wormed his way back into the side, and immediately began restoring his good name. At the halfway point, only 6 in the squad have more minutes on the field, and Fred ranks in the top 20 Premier League players for defensive actions and deep progressions per 90 minutes, and in the top 5 for pressures, demonstrating that he can both protect the backline and work the ball forward into United's pacey frontline. That's a far cry from the days when he was derided as a waste of money who couldn't pass 5 yards. And with Pogba set to leave in the summer, Fred could yet make himself the linchpin of United's midfield, whether under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or the 3rd coach of his time at Old Trafford. 7. Adel Taarabt. When players are always talked about in terms of talent, you know they didn't ever make good on that promise. No one is a better example of that than Adel Taarabt, the attacking midfielder who joined Spurs at the age of 18. Then a tricky wide player with just 1 top-flight appearance to his name, Taarabt was exceptionally skilled on the ball, but known for a bad attitude and poor work rate, even getting banned from the Spurs changing ground by Juan de Ramos. The Moroccan moved on to QPR for £1 million and was immediately named Championship Player of the Season, scoring 19 goals. But once the R's returned to the top flight, links to PSG and Napoli unsettled him, and he never recovered his form, enduring relegation before going on loan to Fulham, then AC Milan. In the end, Benfica took a flyer on the midfielder for €4 million, but thought their investment was wasted, sending him out to Genoa for 2 seasons before consigning him to the reserve team again because of his attitude. But in 2019, Taarabt began to claw back his place, and has since established himself as a solid number 6 for the Eagles. Currently recording a career best 4 tackles and interceptions per 90, he is still a brilliant dribbler. dribbler, leading the squad and plays the second most passes too, making himself integral to a team which at the time of writing has conceded just 8 goals in 19 games. Now 30, Taarabt may never be the star he should have been, but he can still end his unusual career with a flourish. 6. Carlos Vela. Okay, so aging out of European football and heading to a lower level in North America might be a tough sell as a career revival, but Carlos Vela's performance since arriving at Los Angeles FC in 2018 has been staggering. The Mexican, after scoring a goal every 3.7 games before the move, has netted every 1.3 since, finishing the 2019 campaign with an unbelievable record of 38 in 36 appearances and 34 regular season goals, breaking the MLS record by 3. As well as ranking first for goals, Vela also got 11 assists, the 5th best total in the division. With 5.2 shots per game, he made more attempts on goal than Zlatan Ibrahimovic and every other player, while 3 key passes placed 7th in the MLS and 2.8 dribbles 9th. In fact, Vela's 47 goal involvements made him more prolific than 7 clubs in the competition, making it no surprise that he was named the league's MVP despite missing out on the title, and was nominated to the Team of the Year for the 2nd season running. At 30, Vela doesn't even have a limited lifespan in America, and after picking up the Supporters' Shield, the first club trophy of his career, he'll be keen to make history by leading his infant club to their first title in 2020. 5. Victor Osimhen. 21 is young to be a starting striker in a top league, let alone to have had a breakthrough and a comeback. But at the time of writing, only Jadon Sancho is both younger than Lille's Victor Osimhen and has more goals than him in Europe's top 5 leagues, with the Nigerian sitting on 11 strikes and 9 days younger than Kylian Mbappe. Formerly of Wolfsburg, Osimhen played 14 times for the German outfit but never scored, with injury eventually seeing the Wolves lose their patience. So in 2018 they allowed him to have trials with Belgian side Zulte Waregem and Club Brugge in the hope of securing a move, only to see a switch to a big side scuppered by Osimhen contracting malaria, which left him weakened. Over time his energy returned and Osimhen made good on his early promise, hitting 20 in all comps, though Charleroi could only finish 9th. The Belgians paid just £3 million to make the youngster's transfer permanent, and a month later tripled their investment when Lille came calling. Now valued at nearly £30 million by Transfermarkt, Osimhen has gone from sickbed to superstar in just 18 months. 4. Luis Muriel. Watford and Udinese owners the Pozzi have made a habit of picking up South American stars in the making over the last decade. Their acquisitions include Alexis Sanchez, Richarlison, Allen and Juan Cuadrado, and at one stage it looked like the jewel in their crown would be Luis Muriel, brought in from Colombia at 19 years old in 2010. The striker spent 2 years on loan before joining the first team, but at 21 he looked a superstar. In 1,400 minutes in 2012-13, he scored 11 and created 3, also proving himself as one of Serie A's best dribblers with 3.2 take-ons a game. However, he struggled to stay in shape, with coach Francesco Guidolin demanding that he lose weight on several occasions. And despite being named as Young Player of the Season, he would only score 4 more league goals for the Little Zebras. In fact, it would be 4 years before he hit double figures a second time, this time with Sampdoria. And though that earned him a move to Sevilla, his form dipped again until 2019, when Atalanta signed him for €18 million. Expertly coached by Gianpiero Gasparini, Muriel has once again become lethal in front of goal, filling in for the injured Duvan Zapata this season and banging 12 goals in limited game time, one every 74 minutes. Managing nearly 2 key passes a match and over 5 shots, the best of his career, the 28-year-old is showing what once made him coveted by big clubs across the continent. 3. Teo Hernandez. Still only 22, Teo Hernandez is on to his 5th club since 2017, but it looks like this one might stick. Now Milan's starting left-back, the Frenchman is at the time of writing the club's top goal contributor in 1920, with 5 goals and 2 assists at the season's halfway point. That's even better than the form which saw him move to Real Madrid from Atletico in 2017 after a successful loan at Alaves, Los Blancos paying a release clause of €24 million to steal the exciting prospect from their rivals. It's hard to see why Real didn't take to Hernandez, as at the Bernabeu he was exactly the same player he had been in the Basque Country. He continued to win possession around 3.5 times a game and maintain his rate of 2 dribbles a match, a tally which currently places him 7th among fullbacks across Europe. Meanwhile, his aerial win rate and chance creation actually went up, but Real still sent him out to Sociedad after 12 months to fatten him up for a transfer, preferring academy prospect Sergio Reguilon. They have since spent €50 million on Ferland Mendy, but were able to recoup €20 million of that when Hernandez caught the eye of Milan, earning the Spanish giants a €4 million loss after 2 years. The Rossoneri, on the other hand, looked to have found a long-term solution to a problem position, and when you lose out to Milan in the market, you know you've made some serious mistakes. 2. Santi Cazorla. It's hard to think of Arsenal players loved by opposition fans and Gooners alike, but Santi Cazorla is certainly one. The Spaniard joined Arsenal in 2012 and was the club's player of the season in his maiden campaign, going on to score or assist roughly every other game for Wenger's side across 6 seasons at the Emirates, winning the FA Cup twice. The 5'5" midfielder dropped deeper as he aged, using his superb balance and two-footed distribution to become the perfect press breaker, as well as proving himself a decent defender with around 4 tackles and interceptions per 90. His quality was such that to date he has 81 caps for the Spanish national team, during a golden age of the nation's midfield, Italianly topped by 15 players. But his quick feet often saw him hacked out of games, and in October 2016 he suffered an ankle injury which required 8 surgeries to correct, with gangrene eventually eating away part of his tendon. Doctors feared that he could lose his leg and had to perform a skin graft using flesh from his arm, halving the tattoo of his daughter's name, and ruling him out for 636 days, at which point he got back on the field on the shirt of his former club Villarreal. The Yellow Submarine gave him a permanent contract 3 weeks later, and he produced 14 goal involvements in La Liga that campaign, with only Rabiot and Messi getting more assists than his 10. He's currently on track to better that tally in the 1920 season with 13 goal contributions at the halfway point. Not bad for a 35-year-old. 1. Ciro Immobile. Yes, we're bored of him too by now, but Ciro Immobile has resuscitated his career not once but twice in the last decade. A Juventus trainee, the Italian had as many loans for the Turin Giants as he had appearances for them, spending time in Serie B with Siena, Grosseto and Pescara, where he netted 28 in 37 in the 2011-12 season, thanks to a supply line from 20-year-old Lorenzo Insigne and 18-year-old Marco Verratti. That saw him move on to top-flight Genoa, but just 5 goals in a year was hardly a stunning return, and he went on to Torino, where he teamed up with wideman Alessio Cerci. The pair scored 35 league goals between them in 12 months together, Immobile getting 22 of them, making him the first Campionare from the Granata in 37 years. Jurgen Klopp's Dortmund swooped, spending €80 million for the forward, but once again he took a step back, scoring just 10 league goals over the next 3 years with Dortmund, Sevilla and Torino, and only playing 42% of the available minutes in that time. After 8 moves in 6 years, it seemed that Immobile was a second-tier player who had had one magical campaign, until Lazio offered €9 million to take him to Rome. In the 3 full seasons since, the striker has missed only 9 games, and he's now hit over 20 league goals 3 times. In fact, with 92 strikes and 24 assists, he's contributed to a goal every 90 minutes for the Biancocelesti, and by the end of the current season is likely to be the second most prolific scorer in the history of the club. The top scorer in Italy over the last 10 years, despite time spent abroad, Immobile has made a fool of everyone who ever doubted him, myself included. So guys, that was our top 10 of players with dramatic career revivals. What did you guys think of the list? Did we miss any out? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!